Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Mark Manley here, currently in the beautiful location of the greater Los Angeles area. And I wanted to take a moment to make a quick, just say a couple of quick words about the issue of Abu Eesa Ni'matullah's so-called jokes and the responses to them, particularly the growing number of fair and balanced responses. And that what has continued to put me off, and a number of other leaders in the Muslim community who are not being assuaged by all these soothing words, is that one, there's still a tendency to portray those who were offended or outraged as overreacting. And in fact, I'm reading an article now that describes some of it as having, spiraled out of control and escalating as if, quote unquote, it was the only subject of conversation around the online globe for an entire week. And my problem with that kind of verbiage is that it is a subtle backhand against those that were legitimately outraged and offended by the words. And it's something that a friend of mine that would call a shame grenade. So on one hand, it's trying to address it, but I feel that it's making a very subtle backhand gesture against it. So I have some major objections against that. And that ultimately I feel that what we're dealing with here is partly a fallout, not only due to issues of racism within the Muslim community, because there is that, and again, I'm not judging the brother's internal character, and I shouldn't be asked to have to know him on a tight and intimate personal basis in order to be able to deal with whatever his public behaviors are. And the fact of the matter is, as I had actually put online, private decorum and character are not an acquittal for reprehensible public actions. So I'll just say it again. And therefore, I am not judging a person standing in the akhirah or whatnot. I'm dealing with their public behaviors. And I know that this is going to be upsetting to many because I seem to not be willing to just let it go. I guess I'm just being a troublesome Negro in that manner. But, essentially, this is also a major problem of the lack of privacy. And that one imam and I were talking, and particularly I think for imams and scholars, because we can lead very personal lives, maybe we need to have more people that we confide in. And I'll be honest, I don't really, and I think a lot of black people will feel this in terms of the black side of the jokes that were said. I won't speak for the side dealing with women. I don't really need for people to like me as a black person, but you do have to respect me in the public arena. And if you make gestures or comments, regardless of whatever the context was supposed to have been, and by the way, nobody's been able to explain to me what exactly that context would have been appropriate in, then, you have to be willing to face the consequences for that. And here's what I'm saying ultimately. We need a restoration of the private. And that perhaps what this brother needs and other imams need and people in general is some privacy. And I say that as a person that obviously spends a great deal of time interacting through social media. And there are great benefits of being online and through social media. But one of the detrimental effects it's had is that it's almost like, if a tree fell in the forest and nobody made a tweet about it, did it actually make a sound? And that perhaps what this brother needs and other, even for myself. What we need is a private discourse by which we can speak intimately and off the record in ways that will allow us to express ourselves, so that when we come into the public arena, that we speak with the appropriate sense of tact, decorum, adab, whatever your, mustalahat, whatever your technical terms want to be for it. And that's one of my major issues that I have with this, is that ultimately I don't really care whether he has those beliefs in his heart or not. And I take it at face value that he doesn't. What I do take at also face value is that it was an egregious error to make those comments in the public, regardless of whatever the context was intended to be. The appropriate context, not for the punchline of the joke, but for the jokes themselves, would have been in private. And therefore, we need to perhaps have a fiqh of social media that lays out in very clear detail that, the same rules that, I guess, apply in real life apply for online life. And therefore, believe me, and everybody around me, like amongst my peers, my boys, people in my family, they can certainly tell you there's a whole lot that Mark Manley does not utter in public that he would like to, but that he doesn't because it may not be considered appropriate. And therefore, those conversations happen offline and in private. And I think that gets down to, I don't need somebody to like black people. And perhaps, from a woman's standpoint, and again, I can't say, they may have something similar where, you don't have to like women, but you have to respect women. And again, I'm not putting any words in the mouths of those people. Those are just some of my thoughts. So this is my fair and balanced commentary, not only on Abu Eesa Gate, but on some of the fair and balanced gate. So I hope this will give us some breadcrumbs, some food for thought to think as we go forward, and how we handle ourselves as a community, particularly those who are in positions of leadership and authority, whether they would like to be or not. So, Jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.